as a millennial myself, I cannot help but notice how bizarre the situation is for my generation. Like, we were born into the middle of two exponential curves, basically. Like in the steepest part where the ride gets really crazy. So one of them being the learnability and democratization of learning. So when I was a child, I remember that, like, I still had both feet in that world where to learn something, you have to choose that path and then go to the university and all that. And then through the time of like my 20s or so, this whole thing transformed completely into everybody can learn anything right now just with their smartphone, because all information is available and because literally every single profession by now has been democratized, meaning that the costs of entry have gotten so low. Like when I was a child, you had to like invest, I don't know, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to have filming equipment and start a filming company. Nowadays, like, you can get the same quality video, like better quality video, for less than $1,000. This is off the charts. And the effect of that has been that as a millennial, right now, I look at the world and I see all these amazing people who have brought their skills to a level that is just unimaginable. When I see drummers today, I used to be a skateboarder as a kid. When I see the tricks that they're doing today, and we can look at science, we can look at technology, there's so many fields. So all these learning curves have gone through the roof. And as a millennial, I'm basically left in this feeling of, whoa, everybody's literally better than me at everything. So where do I even begin? This leaves me in that frozen state of, where do I even get the motivation to start something? I know mastery would be cool, but everybody's so good. Like, I used to go to the library to learn stuff, you know? It's almost as if there's like this resentful part of me that wants to be the angry grandfather and point at the young guys and go, this is not how it used to be in my day and age. So this is one learning curve. This is one of the exponential curves. And the second exponential curve that we are literally born into is the crisis curve. So there has never been, I would argue, so much crisis everywhere, like the financial system, the educational system, the political system, the healthcare system, like everywhere everything is like on fire. And interesting enough, this creates the same feeling. So this puts me into a sort of analysis paralysis where I'm like, okay, where do I even begin? Like, again, the same question as with the other curve. Where do I get the motivation to even start? Because I'm so overwhelmed with all the things that are going wrong in this world. And of course, you would say that a lot of these problems have been issues for generations before us as well. But I would argue that they have not been as obvious as they are today. So we are in the middle of not just crisis, but obvious crisis. So what do we do with this information? Like, how can I come out of this frozen state? And I do have an answer, and interesting enough, some smart people have been analyzing different generations and have been looking at what are their struggles and their gifts as well. And interesting enough, people have been realizing, or scientists at least, have been realizing that the topic of purpose is an important one. So the millennials are often called the generation Y, kind of standing for the word why. So I guess that this is one thing that is particularly important for us, is to have this feeling or experience of purpose and meaning in our life. And as we all know, purpose and meaning is not something that can be created with step 1 to 5 program. Like, there is no linear way to get there. So my proposal for myself and for the whole millennial generation is actually to learn how to feel, to develop capacity to feel and to be a more competent emotional being. Why? Because this resolves all the questions that we went through in these few minutes right now. Like, when you look at the frustration of the learning curves and this feeling of stuckness and not even knowing where to start, the only way out is through, really. And the only way for me to resolve these resentment or depression or whatever that feeling is to sit with it and to work through it on my own or with support, in order to understand what is my personal interpretation of the world and what is my personal flavor of this frustration. Although it may look similar for most of us, it still is a very individual path, and there is no recipe for how to be motivated or how to achieve mastery. But there is this internal compass that every one of us has, and the feelings that I have, they might not be the most literal, like perfectly drawn out map for what to do with your life, but they do nudge you pretty clearly in directions that, when you follow these steps, you eventually get to a point where you have enough clarity of who you are and what your own purpose is and what the mastery that you want to go for is. And also the same with all the different crises that we have in the world. The only way to get out the frustration is to enter the frustration full on and feel all these feelings of overwhelm and feelings of anger and being furious at the past generations, like what they handed down to us, and be very sad about the state of the world and the glaciers and the diversity and nature and pollution and all that. And literally through these feelings, pay attention to what exactly is your field of work, because just because I'm angry about everything doesn't mean that I am literally here to work on everything. For some it is, but for most of us, we have a pretty clear distinction, a pretty clear desire in ourselves that shows us that this is actually not it, and this is actually not it, and this is actually not it. So I often tell people who are very concerned about everything, I often ask them, I know, but is this really your field of work? Is this really your responsibility in terms of responsibility? Do you have the ability to respond to this whatever crisis you see? Like, for me, for example, when I look at the global refugee situation, like politically, this is a complete nightmare. And I acknowledge that, and I do feel the pain and sorrow and anger connected to that. But if I'm really honest with myself, then I know that this is not my field of work. This is not my responsibility in terms of I cannot be myself and be working on this. There's other fields where it is much more authentic. So by working through these feelings and being with these feelings, I can resolve this for me and get in a state of alignment where I can be a real millennial, basically, and work on the issues that have something to do with me, while still being open to the pain, because the pain in itself is never the problem. The pain is just a pointer saying, hey, there is stuff going on, and there is wildfire, and there is species that are dying out, and there is abuse, and there is alcoholism, and there's other things. So, yeah, I hope this helps, and take good care. Thank you very much for listening. Cheers.